I see that.
So, I want to end with giving our listeners and our viewers
like some takeaways.
Some strategies for sort of avoiding the narrative fallacy.
Okay, so say that again. So what are we doing?
We're going to do, to wrap this episode up, we're going to give our viewers and our listeners 5 strategies or tips for ways that they can avoid the narrative fallacy. Okay. So the first one is to seek out multiple perspectives. This is basically, I'm just taking things from what we've already talked about. So, so we're seeking out multiple perspectives because the idea is that it helps you to broaden your mind and helps you with your self-development and personal development, right?
And these are ways to really broaden your perspective. It's like the more data, I hate that word, but I get it. The more data, the more information that you have, the more points of views that you have, the better access to making a more available
educated
and more educated and more
a decision that you can be comfortable with.
Yes, because you explore a diversity of options,
right,
and a diversity of points of views,
right. And you didn't take it from somebody else; it's yours. You formulated it on your own.
And you could ask a person, and you got to be careful too on who you ask. As well. I mean, I want to kind of like put that in there because if you're seeking multiple perspectives, be careful of who you ask and ask people, even if you feel I'm going to ask them, I'm going to hear it. Well,
sometimes you want to ask those people just because you want to hear what they have to say.
Yeah.
But you don't have to take that for face.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
It's a point of view.
Be all. Exactly.
It's one point of view.
I disagree with tons of people that I talk to.
Correct.
But I want to hear what they have to say because I'm curious about that perspective. Not going to believe it, not going to, act on it, not going to be whatever about it. But it's good to know those things. I think
you'd be
important.
surprised. Like you may find someone that you probably are dismissive of, and you ask them a question about something, and you're like, "Huh, I never thought about this."
Exactly.
And
so that would lead into my number 2, which is to practice critical thinking.
Yes,
that's important.
Yeah,
you got to practice. I mean, that to me, that's like the most complicated thing for me to do sometimes is to practice critical thinking.
Well, it really goes back. Like, this is the idea of critical thinking, right? It's like you have an idea, right? You test the idea. You go around and you start looking for something that either discredits it or validates
it's like the scientific method.
It's a scientific method constantly. It's like, and if you find instances in which, nope, that's not it, then you know that there's something else, right? That there's gotta be another way,
right?
So it's like the idea of critical thinking is, and everybody does it on a regular basis, is whether or not we're doing it on a purposeful basis.
Okay.
So to sit down on something and think of something critical, it's not like, it's like, okay, let me think about, with kids, it's like, oh, I don't want to live with my parents anymore. Okay, let's think about that. Has anybody not lived with their parents before?
Right.
What are the pluses? What are the minuses? Yeah. What are the benefits of staying here? What are the negatives of staying here? Can I delay this?
Right.
Let me try this plan. Let me check, cancel, and continue. Seek, problem solving and all that stuff. So these are skills that you are developing throughout your life. And sometimes it goes smoothly. Sometimes the answers don't come to you right away because the quest is not a straight line. It's squiggly ups and downs, peaks and valleys. So you are going to go through things that are really emotionally heavy sometimes. And you still have to act critically and think critically to deal with those emotions because you can't have just emotions without thought. That's not going to work. You have to have a balance between the thinking and feeling. And
it's been your theme in this episode.
Yeah, you have to have a balance between those two things, and then be able to figure out, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And that's kind of like the way that you think critically about it.
So to tie into that would be to be mindful of anecdotal evidence.
Yeah, there is a lot of stories out there, a lot of a lot of motivational things. I've never been a big fan of motivational stuff and inspirational things, And then I hear it, but I'm never being a big fan. I mean,
a lot of times those things are based on their personal experiences.
Yeah, and this is why I like to focus a lot on the hero's journey, on the monomyth, right? Because I think the monomyth is something that is universal. You go into your adventure, right? You find mentors, you find villains and traitors and muses and all that stuff. You fall down, you get up again, and until you find the elixir of life, which is living from within yourself. So I love that monomyth more than I love the motivational thing, because that motivation is like going to church on Sunday, but then by Tuesday you forgot exactly what happened on Sunday.
That's true.
You know, or going to a big seminar, and then a couple of days later you're like, wah.
Something doesn't work out.
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay. Yeah. So just be mindful of the anecdotal evidence and just test it out. Yeah.
Okay. Number 4 is to avoid overgeneralization.
Yeah. It's like as much as you think that you know, you don't know enough.
Yeah.
You know,
we don't know enough.
We don't know enough. Yeah. Like as if you think you know something, you may not know as much as you think that you know.
Right. Yeah, that's
true. And it's like everybody that tells you otherwise, be wary of that, because they might be a con artist.
Right. That's true. Yeah.
You know.
And so then what would be important to understand is that not everybody knows everything, and we don't know everything, and so we have to be able to be open to changing our beliefs, which is the final tip.
And this is going to be hard for people, right? Because we believe that our beliefs define who we are, right? So there's
well, these are like values and things that are instilled in us. So we're raised to believe these things.
But again, this is one of the things that I like to talk about. Is like, and this is one of the things that Nietzsche was really emphatic about. It's about the fact that you have to challenge the beliefs that are given to you. And the reason why you have to challenge them is because in order for you to own those beliefs, you either have to validate them or disregard them, right? Because once they're given to you, they're something that is superimposed on you, right? And if you have an inkling that you're questioning it, right, you should follow that thread and see where it leads you, and you'll find something else. Now,
and even if you think that it applies to you seamlessly, I think it's important to still be open, which is what we've talked about throughout this episode, to be open to other perspectives and seeing how those things might align with that belief that you believe in, or that you feels really good to you.